Dear friend, this time I wanted to show you the three-quarter top view car sketch perspective in a different way. So, I wanted to make it really simple to understand. So I prepared this base, which is a very simple shape with two axes for the wheels. As you can see, the wheels have their minor axis following the opposite vanishing point on the left, because the side view that we can see is on the right type. So here we go. I just used that base to start making my main shape of a car, getting the basic proportions. I put an indication of a center line, and as you can see, I'm still very squarish in my way of putting my lines. But at the same time, I'm starting to try to make the cabin, the windshield, the front end, which is not flat but has already some sections that will show the roundness of the front. I make a correction about my wheels because they should be a little bit bigger, and I go around so to get confident about what I'm doing. I'm really exploring now, okay? So no stress, just an exploration. And what I will do now, I'll use one of my dark gray marker. This is number 7 from Copic markers, to highlight the main lines and try to become a little bit more round, okay, in my approach. It's not anymore a rigid line, a series of lines, but I'm trying to use that cage, that basic shape, and trying to get a little bit more, feeling, working a little bit more the quality of the outline. I rework, of course, again my wheels to make sure that they look correct, and I start adding some lines and shadow so that I can block in the main proportions in a more visible way according to the light source that is, of course, always coming from the right up right corner. So I put the darkness, the dark time value, color value for the shadow, and I start concentrating in the area where I will put my front light. But that gives me a very strong indications about that front end. That's just a very quick indication. And then I decide what type of logo or grill, I want to put, and of course I'm trying to do something that looks like the Alfa Romeo. Now another thing you can see, I'm trying to explain how I make the front end, surface from the side fender to be taping in a little bit, and also the overall side view. In fact, the belt line is not really a straight line. As you can see, I'm making a curved line, okay? And that curved line is going to be also on the other side of the car. Now look what I do. So you can feel now that the car is a little bit more round. It's more, it's more a car shape. So here I explain to you a little bit more using always the basic shapes to understand how I'm trying to model, that type of simple mechanical shape. You see? That's my intention. So when I look at my sketch, that's what I try to do. And the front end is very flat now. So what do? I use the center line, you see, and I make an extra length so that I gain more space to develop the roundness of my front end. So that's what you have to think of when you are working from a basic shape, so that you have a very easy guide to start your perspective. This perspective is very difficult, it's not an easy one. That's why I wanted to make this video so that it's even easier for you. This is the indication of a correction I had to make. The car was a little bit too wide. So I'm redesigning that line on the other side so that I can get a little bit narrower car and improve the overall proportion of the car. It's always almost like a boat. Those are round lines because the car is tapering in the front and also in the back. And then there is another thing. There is also that line here that is a little bit too high. So I bring it down a little bit because the rocker panel line being there is a little bit too, it's just a little bit too high. In general, the rocker panel line is a little bit below the center of the wheels. Of course, if we are talking about a big Jeep, off-road car is different. But here we are on an SUV car, more or less. So I redesigned my center line because now I'm really thinking the roundness of the hood, the windshield, the way I make the radius between the windshield and the top of the car, and I'm also extending a little bit the windshield because it looks a little bit too low, from the top. So this is an activity I do, retracing the main sketch, because now is the time I have to rebalance some lines, some shapes, to make sure that it is correct, okay, that it looks better. And we are talking about proportions, of course. So I rework the beginning, the start of my A pillars. As you can see, I put a line always respecting the perspective lines and the vanishing point on the left, and that's where my A pillars should be. But I am also taping a little bit on the top of the A pillar. As you can see, the top of the windshield is a little bit narrower, according to the base of the windshield, which is a little bit wider. And that's the base of the windshield that will be rounded. And thanks to the center line, I know where is the point where it has to go for the maximum extension of its roundness, okay, in the center line. So I keep on moving and I do the top line, and here I get a very good feeling of my car. As you can see, the rocker panel line is still too high, so I have to correct that. But now I concentrate on the back. I try to feel the overall length of this car, and then I will make the connection between the top of the car and the back part. And why not to make a nice radius, almost like those beautiful Range Rovers, that are so very nicely executed. So the back line, you see, always respecting the perspective. And now I retrace the axle of the front wheels to make sure that I make the wheels really correct. In the back it's more vertical and narrowed, the ellipse, but when we come to the front it's a little bit wider because of perspective, it's facing up to our eyes a little bit more, so it's a little bit more open as an ellipse compared to the back one. And now is the time I have to go and look at this rocker panel according to the center of the wheel. It's too high, so I break it down a little bit before I concentrate on the shadow on the ground. So now you can see the proportion is better between the overall size, the overall height of my side body, and the glass area. And now is the time I can be concentrated again on the front, and I retrace it, trying to improve a little bit more, that front end. So I start again from the center, and then as you can see, I'm really sculpting that front end in a different way compared to before. It's stronger, it's better, it's round at the lower part, and I get that corner, the front fender and the front of the car, that corner, that one. You see, now I know that one, it's gonna be my front light area. I reproportion that front light, you see, and then I will try to make also very nice sculpting of that front end, like I'm trying to do now, making also an air intake that it's always nice to put, of course, so that we have a nice design in the front. And here I exaggerate a little bit because I am making a little bit of extra sculpting of that front bumper, just to show you how you can use your creativity on a very simple shape and apply a really sculpted design, you know. So it's not that because it's a simple shape it has to remain a simple shape. Okay, now I add my reflections, windshield, side view, side glass on top of my hood, on the side the highlight catcher section. I put my shadow that is always following my perspective, and let's add some shading so that I start blocking some shapes that will give me a better feeling of my overall proportions, and also what is reflections, what is shadow. So basically this is the shading stage of my sketch. All right, so I go very quick. I'm not concerned too much about the quality, to be honest, because this is just a quick sketch. You know, this sketch has to be resketched, of course, retraced, and this is the final work. I really hope you like it, and please subscribe and put your like. Thank you.